Hello and welcome to the playthrough video for Vanguards of the Lost Lands. My name is Paul Elliott Messier and I'm the game designer behind this incredible digital board game. Vanguards of the Lost Lands is a cooperative RPG adventure board game for 1 to 4 players where you take on the role of a hero, desperately trying to save their village from a monstrous villain by gathering the 4 elders of the regions in a post-apocalyptic tribal fantasy world. So that's the goal of the game, is to gather the 4 elders of the regions in this post-apocalyptic tribal fantasy world in order to fight the villain. The other thing to keep note of is there's a despair tracker. Now the despair tracker represents time running out. If this reaches 20, you also fight the villain. So now we're going to go over how to set up the game and play. The first thing you do is you choose a player piece. I'm going to be purple. Then I place it in the village. This is the middle of the board. There are a variety of things you can do in the village, but we're going to go over that a little later. The next thing I do is I choose a hero. I'm going to pick the Bloodthirster. Just like all heroes, the Bloodthirster has 3 traits: bravery, intuition, and reflexes. The numbers next to them represent the number of dice you roll in combat or when performing a trait test. Now, a trait test is when you roll all the dice and add them together to see if you reach the target number or higher. In combat, you want to roll 5s or 6s. We'll go over that again a little later. The next thing we do is we choose a villain. I'm going to choose the Neo War Commander. The Neo War Commander has 1 fight dice per player and 12 injuries. He also has 3 abilities. At the end of each round, he calls in for backup and his fight dice and injuries increase by 1 per player. His second ability is that he forces players to use bravery in combat when fighting him. His third ability affects the despair tracker. At the end of each player round, the despair tracker goes up by 3. So now we've set up to play the game. So let's get started on my first turn. I can move up to 2 spaces on my turn, so I'm going to go to the Boglands. Next, I choose a Boglands region card. I find the Corpsemonger. He has 2 fight dice and 2 injuries, but rewards 2 honor for killing him. He also has an ability that if he succeeds on both of its fight dice, it nullifies one of the player's fight dice. So now we take 2 fight dice for him and 4 for me. The reason I get 4 dice is that my bravery is 4. You use bravery in combat unless otherwise stated on your hero card. So now we roll. I need 5s and 6s to hit. I get 3 hits. That's amazing. And let's see what he gets. He gets 1 hit. So I take an injury token from the bag and place it on my hero. I have 4 injuries designated by the heart with the cross in it. Each time you take an injury, you have to mark it with an injury token. So I have dealt 3 wounds, 3 injuries to the Corpsemonger. So it dies. But let's run through a hypothetical. Let's say he survived. Then we would be at the end of the combat round, and I can choose to do one of 3 things. I can choose to run away from the fight, at which point the card would simply be discarded. I can also use an item if I have an item, or I can heal. Now it costs 1 honor to heal 1 injury. So let's move on. The Corpsemonger is killed and I move on from my turn. I gain 2 honor from this fight and 1 for exploring the region. So at this point, I'm going to heal. I'm going to pay 1 honor in order to get rid of my injury token. You can heal outside of combat at any time. So now we read what the board says. The board says, must draw a tribulation card. So here we go. These are the tribulation cards. They tend to represent trials that your character goes through. We get weather, acid rain. At the start of each player's turn, they must roll 1d6 and take an injury on a 1. So now that we've accounted for the tribulation card, we have to do what the board says next, which is roll 1d6. On a 1 to 3, get 3 honor. On a 4 to 6, an item, weapon, armor, vehicle, or follower from the region deck. So I'm going to roll 1d6. And I get 3, which is 3 honor. Now we've come to the end of my turn. The game is that simple to play. So at this point, the global despair tracker ability of the Neo War Commander comes into play, and the tracker moves up by 3. So now that we've done this, we move on to my turn, and I have to account for weather. So I roll 1d6, and I get a 6, so acid rain does not affect me. Next, I'm going to move to the port. This is a central location. There are 4 of these on the board. When you go to explore a central location, you have to pay 2 honor. I get a champion. The follower, the champion. It gives me +1 to a trait of choice and has 2 injuries. This is important to note because in combat, you can assign injuries to your followers. I'm going to choose bravery as the statistic, the trait that I increase. So now that I've done this, I get a guaranteed favor card. Favor cards are good things happening to you. And we get weather, clear skies. That means that the acid rain is discarded and clear skies takes its place. Weather cards remain in play until the weather changes. This is important to remember. So now we are at the end of my turn, and the despair tracker goes up by 3. Now we're at my turn again. So I'm going to move over here. On this space, I draw a region card, as you always should. Next, I find the Elder, succeeded by Youth. The reward is that I get 2 honor, and I gain a follower of choice from the Boglands region deck. So I'm going to choose the Sky Caller. The Sky Caller allows me to change the weather to a Clear Skies card once per player round. It also has 1 injury. Next, we do what the board says. The board says roll 1d6, 1 to 3 is a tribulation card, 4 to 6 is a favor card. So now I roll 1d6. I get a 6, which is a favor card. I get to heal 2 injuries, but since I don't have any injuries, I discard the card. Now we're at the end of my turn. I gain 1 honor for exploring. You always have to remember this. Next, the tracker goes up by 3. So now it's my turn again. I'm going to go to the plains, and I'm going to move 2 spaces to the town, which means I have to pay 2 honor to investigate it. What I find is the Tunnel Beast. The Tunnel Beast has 2 fight dice and 2 injuries, but rewards 3 honor. It also has an ability that it burrows up from a tunnel and forces the opponent to reroll one of their successful fight dice. So it gets 2 fight dice, and I get 5 because my bravery is now 5 due to the champion. I get 2 hits. It has 2 injuries. Now let's see if it hits me. Nope. I have to re-roll one of my successful fight dice to see if I hit. And I miss. So it still has 1 injury left. Let's roll again. I get 2 hits, and I have to re-roll one of those. And it's a miss, so I only hit once. Let's see if it injures me. It injures me. So I take an injury token and place it on my character card. Now that I've done this, I won. I beat the Tunnel Beast. Now that I've beaten the Tunnel Beast, it gets discarded, and I gain 3 honor. 1, 2, 3, and 1 for exploring a region. Next, I draw a favor card because I'm on a central location, and I find beneficial terrain, fertile land, used to ensure your next die roll is a guaranteed 6. So I take this card and save it for later. Now it's the end of my turn, and the despair tracker goes up by 3. So now that we've done this, I'm going to choose to stay where I am on my turn, which means I have to pay 2 honor. So I investigate the space, and I find the Elder, eaten by wild beasts. The reward I get is 3 honor and a free item from the village. So I gain 3 honor and 1 for exploring, and now I go over to the village item cards, and I choose an item. I'm going to choose the leather armor. It costs 4 to buy, but since I got the Elder, it's free. This gives me 1 more injury that I can take. So now my injuries are up to 5. I'm also going to heal 1. It costs me 1 injury, 1 honor to heal 1 injury. I like to place the Elder cards on the spaces that they were found in. This helps me remind myself that the Elder has been found. If I were to find another Elder card, what would happen to that Elder card is it would be discarded because the Elder has already been found. Next, I get a favor card. And I find a boon, Spirit Guides. I get +1 to a trait of choice. I'm going to choose Bravery. Now, it's important to note that you can have 1 curse and 1 boon at a time. You can also carry 1 weapon, 1 armor, 1 item from each region, and 1 village item at a time. You can have 2 followers, no more. So now that it's the end of my turn, the despair tracker moves up by 3. I'm going to move over to the mountains. And let's see what I find. I find the Thunderstorm. It's a submachine gun. It lets me double my fight dice in 1 turn, once per combat encounter. This is going to be handy. Next, I do what the board says. It says roll 1d6, 1 to 3 is a tribulation card, 4 to 6 is a favor card. So let's roll a d6. And it's 5, so I get a favor card. Now, something to remember is that my bravery has increased by 2, so I get an additional die in combat. I'm just going to place these off to the side for ease of use. So now I draw my favor card. And I find shortcut. I can move to the central location, which I can explore next turn without paying honor, or I can go to the village and perform 1 action. So I'm going to use that and go to the central location, the fortress. So that's my turn, and the despair tracker goes up by 3. Now I get to explore the region without having to pay honor. I find the balsam fir, used to heal 2 injuries. That's also going to be handy. Next, I get a favor card. And I find shortcut. So I'm going to teleport to the village and perform 1 action. In the village, you can do a variety of things. There's combat training, buying a meal, visiting a shaman, or buying an item from the vendor. In combat training, you pay 2 honor to perform a 7 trait test. Success equals a +1 to a trait you tested. Now, a trait test is when you roll all your dice and add them together and try to get higher than the target number or the target number itself. Buying a meal requires me to pay 2 honor, and I heal all my injuries. Visiting a shaman allows me to pay 2 honor and remove all curses. Buying an item from the vendor allows me to look at the town item cards and pay the honor cost of the card to buy it. These are the item cards for the village. Next, I end up continuing with my turn. I'm going to do combat training. So combat training requires me to test my bravery. So I roll all my dice, and I get 10. So I get a token for the trait that I tested. I choose bravery. It's the same trait that I tested. Now it's the end of my turn, and we have to fight the villain as the tracker reaches 20. He gets 1 fight dice per player, and he has 12 injuries. He also forces me to use bravery in combat. Now I get 1 turn in the village where I can do anything that I want, but only 1 action. I'm going to do combat training again. So I roll my dice. Oh. And I get more than 7. So I get a bravery token. Now we move on to the fight with the villain. You count up your bravery. My bravery starts at 4. I have 2 tokens and then 1 for my follower, so that's 7, and then 8 for my boon. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to use my submachine gun. And I get 1, 2 hits. Let's use its ability, which lets me re-roll. And I miss, so I get 2 hits. I'm going to discard the submachine gun because it's no longer useful for me. Next, I'm going to use the beneficial terrain fertile land card, which will guarantee a 6. So I'll hit him an additional time. Now he rolls. He gets a hit. So I take an injury token and place it on my hero. Next, he gains 1 fight dice and 1 injury. Now I roll. And I get 1 hit. Let's see what he rolls. He misses. So now he gains 1 fight dice and 1 injury. I roll again. And I get 1 hit. 2 hits. Let's see what he gets. 1 hit. So at this point, I can heal, which will cost me now 3 honor to heal 1 injury, or I can use an ability. I'm going to pay 6 to heal both of my injuries. and then I'm going to use my abilities. I have two abilities, Iron Will, where I may pay 1 honor to ignore the first injury in each combat round, and War Cry, where at the start of each combat round I may pay 1 honor to increase my fight dice by 2 for the combat round. So I'm going to use War Cry. The cost of that ability has gone up to 2, but I increase my fight dice by 2. Now I roll. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. Now he rolls. And he gets 1 hit. At this point, he gains 1 fight die and 1 injury. Now I roll again. And I get 1, 2, 3 hits. And I kill the Neo-War Commander. So that's how you play Vanguards of the Lost Lands. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think. I wish you the absolute best of luck on your adventures as you play Vanguards of the Lost Lands.